All right, so this is part two to uncovering this Edomite is a European doctrine, right? So I actually read this in the first video. It shows where the Edomites equals European ideology comes from. Well, I want to revisit this part of the answer, okay? So, but up here, who the Edomites were biblically, we know that Jacob's brother, they were twins. You don't see twin. It doesn't mention twin in here, but it said, behold, in the text it says, behold, there were twins in the womb. The twins were these two brothers, Esau and Jacob. So Jacob's name would later be changed to Israel. It says that in the very same chapter of Genesis 25 and 25, the basis for the question. So you have to remember this. Jacob and Esau are twin brothers born at the same damn time. Well, I promised that I would uncover in this second video why one twin was red all over like a hairy garment covered in blood and the other one was not. Here it is. Well, this is that video. So I already asked the question and the answer is down here. So it says, I told it to add Ezekiel chapter 16. Ezekiel 16 uncovers the red all over and like a hairy garment. It's going to basically solidify it. It's going to beat the dead horse that this is not some goddamn complexion, race, skin color bullshit that camps teach. So I said add Ezekiel 16 verses 3 through 7. Separate each verse for a thorough discussion. So that's exactly what we have. I'm being transparent because I know people, when they're in their emotions, you're emotionally connected to a doctrine. You're going to then look, man, you making up something. But you didn't do that when you first heard the Esau is the white man doctrine. This is literally precept upon precept. I mentioned that in the first video. It's through the precepts we get understanding. It's not through watching YouTube videos you get understanding. It's not through a Strong's Concordance you get the proper understanding. Okay, so starting at verse 3 of Ezekiel 16, it says, thus said the Lord God unto Jerusalem. Okay, we know that this is in connection with Israel, the brother of Esau, Jacob, okay. Thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan. Thy father was an Amorite and thy mother a Hittite. You see, Israel would come to take over the land of the Canaanites, meaning the Amorites and the Hittites. So this is solidifying that account throughout, Judges and what is that other book? Throughout Judges and Joshua and parts of Sam, Deuteronomy, etc. Like it covers that span of those books. Okay, so this is true, but Jerusalem, again, this is in connection with the nation of Israel. This is the commentary. I'm separating the two. This is what it's adding. I want to see if this is accurate. This opens an extended allegory where Jerusalem is personified as a child. Jerusalem is personified as a child. Then a woman in a parable about Israel's origins. Again, Israel is the brother of Esau. Talking about their origins. Well, it's not birth being a child, your origin. Okay. And unfaithfulness. Okay. The Amorite father, Hittite mother is not literal. It is not literal genealogy. Let me get let me get that clear. Israel, Israel's actual ancestry is Abrahamic. Gives the sources. Okay, it's a rhetorical device. God is shaming Jerusalem by saying spiritually, your origin pagan Canaanite. Not, but I would say because they took those lands over, because it's using the land Jerusalem, portraying, against the land of Amorite and Hittite. But it is what it. That's really not the point. But we see that it's talking about the origins as a child, a baby. Okay, the birth again. Two boys being born at the same damn time, Jacob and Esau. Verse 4. And as for thy nativity, in the day you were born, your navel was not cut, neither were you washed. As you see, this is the beginning of being washed. Neither were you washed in water to supple thee. You were not salted at all, nor swaddled. We're talking about babies at birth. Talking about the navel, okay? This describes the standard of ancient Near Eastern newborn procedure. Done cutting the cord, rubbing. Okay, yeah, that's. We're talking about babies is the point, because again, Jacob and Esau, Genesis 25 and 25, read all over like a hairy garment. We're gonna see why one twin was described as red all over like a hairy garment. Um, I want to jump right into the point, but I want to go verse by verse because man, you skip one, that mean you lying. Okay, none I pity you to do any of these unto you, to have compassion upon thee, but you were cast out in the open field to the loathing of thy person in the day that you were born. It's pain, yeah, abandonment, talking about abandonment. No one had compassion. It's literally that's accurate. This is the build up. This is the beginning of the punchline right here. This is the beginning. So, and when I passed by you, the eye is the most high. I saw you polluted in what? Blood. You were polluted in your own damn blood. Or red all over like a hairy garment. We saw in the first video that red is blood because blood is red. I said unto you when thou was in thy blood, live. Life is being washed in water, like baptism is being washed from your polluted ways of sin, essentially. Live. I said unto thee when thou was in thy blood to live. You have to be washed off to live. I want to see what his commentary says, though. But we're reading this for the first time. Here's an infant explicit. This is one infant. One. We're only talking about one nation of people. But this nation of people at birth was it had a twin. So there, technically there was two nations in thy womb. It says that. But one nation, only Jerusalem, connected to Israel, is being told to live, aka being washed. We're going to get to that word washed in a minute. It says in the commentary, here's an infant explicitly described as polluted in blood, lying in the blood of birth, the origin, universal condition as a newborn. See, before washing, God's response isn't disgust at the blood itself. It's compassion. Live. Okay? So it knows this because why? It says it also in verse 7. I have caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased and multiplied, waxing great, and are coming to excellent garments, etc. Thy breasts, okay, you grown, whereas, okay, you was naked and bare, putting clothes on them, okay? So that this is the separation here. Oh, I didn't even know it had this right here. So how this connects to your Genesis 25 question. I want to see if this is accurate. Verse 6 is genuinely strong support of the reading we landed on last term. Polluted in thine own blood at birth is standard prophetic Hebrew imagery for newborn's natural blood covered state. Going back to Esau, you see, Esau was never shown compassion. Esau was never said, live, live. Again, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. You see, Israel was washed off. Esau was not washed off. Esau remained red all over like a hairy garment. That's why one twin is described that way. The other twin had the blood washed off. This reinforces the conclusion, not a new one, across Genesis 25 and the Exodus chapters and Isaiah 63. See, it already, so this Claude is pretty smart. Consistently functions as birth imagery of judgment / garment injury or imagery, never as a marker of racial identity. Never as a marker of racial identity. Ezekiel 16 makes it especially clear because the infant covered in, here we go, because the infant covered in blood here is Jerusalem itself, Israel. So if covered in blood at birth meant something about race, it would be making a claim about Israel's race, not Edom's. That should make a racial reading even less likely to be where this set of precepts is heading. No more. Okay, so yeah, Israel at birth was washed off, told to live. That's the compassion. You see this washing. This washing is compassion. Let me clean you up. Let me drape you up and trick you out like one of them old school Cadillacs. Let me give you these ornaments and this and that. That's what it says in verse 7 right here. I'm gonna clean you up. I'm gonna make you fat. You don't see this being applied to Esau. Esau was never washed off. You won't find that verse. But what you also won't find is the question, why one of them was described this way, and it's because, man, it was the only white man. He was the first one. Everybody else looked the same. That's dummy YouTube doctrine. That's camp doctrine. You got two twins at the time. That's like you got two bananas, right? Out of the two bananas, you peel one. So one's peeled and one's not. And you ask a question, man, why one look different from the other? Because, man, one of them it just grew like that. That's dumb as hell. It was peeled off. One has protection, one doesn't have protection. Just like Jacob and Esau, one was covered in blood, one wasn't. One was loved, one was hated. One was shown compassion, one wasn't shown compassion. But if a damn show ain't had nothing to do with no skin color, let that sizzle in your spirit. But that's all I have for now, as it is written, and I'm out.